everyone. I am very happy to welcome you to Art South Asia Project Art Murmur with the artists Wardha Shabbir and Charles Moore, who's the co-owner and director of Grosvenor Gallery in London. My name is Mala Yamey, and I'm the program manager for ASAP. Before we get into the talk, I wanted to start by giving you a little introduction to Art South Asia Project. ASAP is a UK-based arts education and development non-profit. We support initiatives to widen and deepen the engagement with modern contemporary visual arts from South Asia and its diaspora. ASAP works with institutions and individuals supporting selected research projects, publications, exhibitions, and events. We offer annual grants and facilitate access to wider knowledge networks in collaboration with expertise across the nations of Bangladesh, India, Nepal, Pakistan, and Sri Lanka and its diaspora. So I wanted to give a little introduction to Wardha first. So Wardha is a visual practitioner and contemporary miniaturist from Lahore, Pakistan. She graduated from the prestigious National College of Arts in NCA in Lahore with her bachelor's degree, receiving honours in 2011. During her academic career at the NCA, Wardha was awarded numerous scholarships and grants, as well as being selected for an exchange program in Paris with the École des Beaux-Arts. She additionally received the Best Young Artist Award from Al-Hamra Gallery in Lahore, and she has recently been a teacher taught as visiting artist professor at NCA since 2013. Since graduating, she has exhibited widely on national and international platforms. She was the first artist from Pakistan selected for FLAC Belgium, and in 2016, she participated in the Summer Intensive program at the Slade in London. In addition, Wardha has exhibited at Dhaka Art Summit, Scope, Basel, Contemporary Istanbul, Abu Dhabi Art Fair, India Art Fair, Artissima, Art Dubai, as well as multiple group exhibits all over the world. Wardha was a finalist for the Jameel Prize in 2018 at the V&A and Jameel Art Centre, and most recently, she has had a solo show, The Water You Seek, at Grosvenor Gallery this month. Charles Moore is the co-owner and director of Grosvenor Gallery in London. He started his career at Bonhams in their Islamic and Indian art department, later focusing on modern contemporary art from the Middle East and South Asia. Whilst there, he conducted auctions in London and the Middle East before joining Grosvenor Gallery in 2012 to specialize in Pakistani and Indian modernists, such as Sadakan, F.N. Souza, and S.H. Raza. Thank you so much for being a part of today's talk. Before I start our conversation, I wanted to just say a few housekeeping points. This session will take place for about an hour with time for questions after. Please stay on mute during the duration of the session, and please put your questions in the chat and then I will speak to them. This session is being recorded, and if you have or any of your friends have not managed to watch the live session, it will be put on our website in the coming months. So there we go. Well, thank you so much again for joining us, Charles and Wardha. I wanted to start with a question for Wardha about being a practicing female artist in Pakistan, and how do you see the system of art education and how working as a professional in the region?
These are very exciting times to be a growing Pakistani artist, and it's been quite a journey for me. I graduated in 2011 for NCA, and since then I have been, struggling and trying to survive this artistic culture that has been around me. But finally now, I think after 13 years of my practice, I think now the time has come in which I don't have to do two jobs at a time, or I can just focus on myself or my artwork. But I'm still doing a lot of jobs because I'm a mother, and have to balance many things that life throws at you. So yeah.
Great, thank you. And in this time, having studied under many brilliant, including Imran Qureshi at NCA, and also having been a teacher yourself in the region, how do you guide younger emerging artists towards becoming practicing artists or reaching where you are today? And how, I know you also work with informal students. What are the relationships you build? What are the things that are important to you to make work for these students or younger artists?
I think the most important part right now, or to, when you're a teacher and you're dealing with a lot of female students, The first question that arrives in your mind is like, I'm working so hard as a teacher on the student, and the student is such a fantastic student. But there's always a pressure in fourth year of them getting married. So you're always trying to influence them and pick pieces of their own self, giving them back to them and providing hope to them. You can pursue this. You should take it forward or something like that. But also people who do want to pursue, they think art is as a safe side. Okay, they can get married, and along with many other responsibilities, they can actually pursue this career. At the same time, I think you really need to influence the female students in this regard as well. You need to give them hope. You need to give them tips to how to become a survivalist. If you're taking this field as as a professional artist, early years won't be fruitful at all. I mean, you need to have one or job or two, to support yourself. You need to have that enthusiasm. So being a teacher, when I was teaching, I'm right on a leave, but I'm giving informal tutelage. But when I used to teach, and when I used to have one-on-one contact with the student at that time, and even now, I just tell them, you just need to carry on. You need to have that hope in you, and you need to have that light in you. You just need to carry on that forward, and your hard work will actually, come forth. It will be fruitful, but you just have to wait for the right time in that regard.
Can I add in something as well?
Yes,
I think
please.
It's what Wardha's said then is, the fact that she teaches and has taught young artists for many years now is such a crucial element as to why I think young artists from Pakistan are producing some of the most exciting work anywhere. I think the system and the ecosystem there is such that to have someone like Wardha, who has such a good experience over a number of years of exhibiting overseas, of dealing with galleries, of attending fairs and dealing with the logistics of exhibitions, and whilst producing the quality of the work she does, and like you mentioned, having a family and looking after her son and all this sort of thing, is amazing that students have the opportunity to talk to somebody with that experience, because it's not common. And I think it is important that you have these generations of artists who come back and teach at colleges and art schools, and that makes such a big difference. I think especially in an ecosystem where there are good galleries. Of course, there are good galleries in Pakistan, but it's crucial that there's this information available to these young artists. Without it, because otherwise, where'd you get it from? This is quite a helpful thing, hopefully, but it's not easy to come across the answers to a lot of these questions, I suppose.
Definitely. I mean, do you think whether that you had those opportunities when you were starting out? Like, what were the mentorship, or what were the things that you learned the most and that led you to who you are today?
I think I was very lucky, very fortunate to be invited to join NCA right after my graduation. So when your teachers are also practicing artists, and you're looking at how they're balancing their life, how they're doing their own practice, and how they're teaching simultaneously. So even if you don't have a direct tutelage on this topic, you're still learning, because you're working with them side by side. So I think I would call myself very lucky and fortunate that I was able to be close to such big names who were practicing and who were doing everything. And that's how I started to learn. And also, when you look at someone that, this is also a female artist, and this is also a female teacher who is giving 9 to 5 and who has a house, who has a job. So you want to become someone like that. Mm-hmm. You need to have that role model in front of you. And that, I think I do try to pass on that light, pass on that hope to other female students as well. You have to carry it forward. You can take it. You can do it. It's not the end of the world. It's just about your energy. If you will give in it, things will start to happen.
Do you feel pressure at all, being because there's a lot of people look up to you and would consider you a role model, as you say. Did you sort of feel that pressure at all, or does that just, you take that in your stride and it's part of the job, and you just deal with it?
I think I haven't taken that pressure. Thank God. I don't. I couldn't. I didn't have time to take that pressure. I have so much on my plate already. So yeah. So but it's always good to have that dialogue with them. It's always good to whenever somebody wants to come, and whenever somebody wants to show their work, or even when I was in London and a lot of students wanted to connect with me. This is the beautiful part of being at NC, or someone who is NC, that whenever even you go out or something, you're always like a family, and anybody can contact you at any time. And if I'm in London and people are contacting me, the students over there who are studying over there and who wanted to had this informal conversation over a coffee, so I was there for them. And I was just now you can do this, or you can do this, or compile a portfolio like this. So there are a lot of things that I have struggled in my lifetime, but now when I see others at the same stage, so I try to guide them in a way that like how I was not guided. Or maybe at the same time, I feel that a lot of not a lot of female artists from 2011 to this date have emerged in that way internationally. But I have a lot of role models myself, who like Hamraba, Saisha Khalid, who had families and who are working as professional artists. And also there are times when you have so many questions and you have so many dilemmas in your mind that you're stuck at a point. So at that time, you need to have someone like I always, at times I go to Salima Hashmi and I tell them, this is a thing going on, what should I do about it? And then they also guide you. So you feel it's like a duty to you, that if somebody has done that part for you and you have reached somewhere, so you have to give, you have to play your part as well, and you have to be a provider for the other one. You cannot just keep everything to yourself, and you just cannot sit on a mountain of knowledge. I mean, it doesn't spread like that. You need to have your doors open, and you need to share and spread every knowledge that you have about it.
Yeah, it's definitely a duty of care to share that knowledge, because no one's really got anywhere on their own. So you need to share that, and it's so amazing that you do, and have as Charles has said, like, you do everything you do and you still have that space in you to share and give to younger artists looking to you for support. Do you find that there's any, like, because obviously you've only studied in Pakistan, were there any, do you wish that there was any way you would have studied in the UK or abroad that might have changed the trajectory of your career? Or do you think there's, I know you're not.
I think, well, I was not very fortunate in this regard. I still haven't done my master's. And, I was always a kind of person who exactly knew who I'm a planner, and I exactly know what I will be doing 5 years after what I'm doing right now. And I always used to plan. So when I used to when I graduated, I used to look at these art schools. I took my sweet time of 2 years, and I thought, maybe I want to practice a little. I want to do a job a little, expose myself to many things, and then choose where I want to do my studies. So whenever I used to apply somewhere, I got into every institution of the world. I got into Chicago, Art Institute of Chicago. I applied over there. I got in there. I applied to RCA. I got into there. But the struggle of a Pakistani female artist like me, who belongs to a middle class family, I don't have a very strong, rich background, or parents who can give me a lot of money to support my master. So I had to do something on my own. That's where the problem came. That's where the international student tuition fee was so high. It was so high that my parents couldn't afford it. I couldn't afford myself. And I always thought, maybe, I'll just freeze this year and maybe I will apply next year to this institution. But the next year, inflammation got high, and the tuition fees were high, and I still couldn't get it. I was very lucky to, get into RCA at this one time, and I was among the 3 finalists to receive their complete scholarship for the whole year thing. But unfortunately, their funding, the funding foundation came down, and it just couldn't happen that way. So I feel like people like me, people who are from Pakistan, or even from India or something, we have this class class thing going on, even when you're going to masters or anything. I know a lot of good students who are just brilliant, and if they will just go for a master, they will make the world move. They will do something so extraordinary, but just because of these restrictions, these financial restrictions, they cannot go. I mean, there's not even one funding body who will just pick someone from Pakistan and who will just give some. I mean, there is Fulbright, yes, but what if you don't want to go to America? What if you don't relate to American university program they're doing? So I mean, at least as an artist, you need to have a right that I choose this country, or maybe this country is providing a program which will take my practice forward. And I thought that only RCA is offering that program which will take my career forward, but unfortunately I couldn't do it. So instead, what me and a lot of other artists who struggle through this, we started doing this thing called residency hopping. And I applied to FLAC, where I got, and it was all funded. I applied to Slade, it was all funded. So, then we look at these residencies who are providing the same exposure, who are providing the same knowledge, who are providing the same experimental approach towards your practice, which will help your practice to evolve and and go further in that way. So these are the things that I also tell my students in that way. I also tell my fellow artists that it's okay if you cannot do masters, it's okay. You can still apply for a residency, you can look for a residency, and then you can go further. But even now I have, I have few very good offers of residency this time, maybe next year, for next year, but I cannot go into this residency because I have to find half funding. I mean, I don't have half funding, and if I'm a mother, I need to find child support for that. So they're not giving child support. So then these sort of restrictions come up, but they don't stop you, but you just have to, look for the best option for you.
No, definitely. And obviously this is a lot later in your career and a stage. Obviously it's not about the masters or the residency, but quite nice to move over to Charles as well, and how you're working with Grosvenor, and how Grosvenor works with South Asian contemporary artists like yourself internationally, and to create these transnational relationships and bring you to the UK and exhibit you internationally, even though maybe you couldn't get the masters or that kind of funding. Be interesting to ask Charles that question.
Yeah, for those that don't know our focus, we're a London gallery, and we specialise primarily in modern and contemporary art from India, Pakistan, Sri Lanka, and we spend a lot of our time dealing in work by the artists working in the mid-20th century, all of whom are well known. And then we have this contemporary program where we work not only with UK-based artists and British artists, most of which have from a South Asian background, and then we do work with artists from the region as well. So we will stage shows of artists based here, like Faiza Butt we've worked with for many years. Zara Hussain is another UK-based artist we work with, and Rashid Areen, of course, we do a lot of work with. And then the way we came to work with Wardha was through a collaboration with a gallery in Pakistan, with Canvas Gallery in Karachi. And Wardha had shown with Samira and the gallery, numerous times before. And there was a group show organised, I think about 2018, was it? Something like that. Yeah, maybe 5 years ago. And there was about 5 or 6 artists that were in the show, and it was really only from that collaboration that we came to work with you, because the reality is, we're based in London. When we do travel to the region, maybe a couple of times a year if we're lucky. Travel to Pakistan a couple of times a year if we're lucky. But then, the opportunities to meet the right people aren't necessarily always there for us. So those collaborative shows worked extremely well, and we've had a couple of other group shows off the back of that as well. But then what we've also done is offered solo projects to one or two of the artists who have been part of those group shows. So whether that be an exhibition at the gallery, or part of being part of an art fair somewhere overseas, there are lots of different ways to sort of make it work. And the first way that we worked with Wardha together, other than that first group show, was when she did a solo exhibition here in winter 2019, which was great timing because that was just before it all everything kicked off. So that was a fantastic show, but that could only come around because of the collaboration that we have with galleries in Pakistan, and we did for many years and still do, although we do less work with them than we used to. A gallery in Delhi called Wardha that we used to do a lot of work with, we would exhibit their artists in the UK. They would send solo and group shows over to us to show, because London's one of the great centres of the art world, and it's important for artists to show overseas if they can. So we would show Wardha's artists here, and then we would put together exhibitions of, say, modern British works, or we would show send out paintings by Sousa, for instance, who lived in the UK for a long time, and so some of the best period works from the best period are in the UK. So we would collect these together and do group shows together, and the same thing works with contemporary painters, and that's how we came to work with Wardha. And again, that sort of conversations continue, because it's not just about the quality of the work. It's also about how well everyone gets on, and how the relation and making the relationship works. We had that solo show, which was fantastic, and I think then I think the project after that was we took some works for a show at Art Dubai in March 2020, but that was postponed because of the pandemic. So we did an online show, but that was going to be a bit of a group show of Rashida, Wardha, and a couple of other artists. And then it's sort of gone on from then. We showed her in Abu Dhabi last year, and then of course we just had the second solo that finished on Tuesday. So yeah, it's a long process, and it kind of has to work for everyone. It's if it's only working for one side, then it's not tenable, and you can't carry on that relationship. But it does seem to be in this instance, which is lucky because Wardha's here. So yeah, she's a pleasure to deal with, and for us the having that contemporary program works as a great foil to the modernist works we show, because often there will be a narrative link between some of the older generation of artists through to the painters working today, and also from our point of view, a collaboration works well in terms of us meeting new clients based in Pakistan or wherever that we wouldn't have otherwise come across, and just widening the group of people that we interact with, which is what it's all about, really. Getting out there and making sure the work ends up in good homes. So in terms of supporting artists, we obviously take care of all the logistics surrounding an exhibition. We have the space here in London, and we stage the shows, and to take care of everything that's involved with staging an exhibition, essentially. And in terms of supporting internationally, we, for example, an artist like Rashida, who's often exhibited in museum shows, or lends work to exhibition overseas. We are we represent the artist, and we're one of the we sort of we help with the logistics and the boring stuff that is sadly very, very, very important nonetheless. But it's we have the group of artists here that we work with, and then we do have a sort of a selection of artists overseas that we work with. But the collaborative element plays a big part in that.
I know when we spoke, just the three of us, it was interesting that you both spoke that there's a very particular connection between Grosvenor and Lahore in Pakistan. Maybe it's interesting for you both to talk a little bit about that, and also in view of the recent Rashid Orange coma.
Yeah, I mean that was a great show that they staged out there, and
Will
from
I
how
show a picture quickly? That'd be helpful.
that was an exhibition, a sort of exhibition of historical work and new pieces by Rashid, which coincided with the unveiling of of Rashid's first public sculpture in Lahore, which you can see there. So that was a sort of quite momentous occasion, really. And Como staged an excellent sort of, review of the artist's career from the very early examples of his work right up until the series of paintings that he's created recently. Our sort of connection to Pakistan and to Lahore is based on our relationships with the galleries and with the artists there. We, for the modernist works, a lot of these people aren't around anymore, but there are academics and there are figures who worked with some of these people, or have first-hand accounts. So we try and travel there as often as we can, and it's all about meeting the people that we know well out there, and visiting artists and going to the biennales that happen out there, and kind of I guess sort of supporting the events that are going on by being in attendance, and things just come of being there. But I don't know Wardha, how do you feel your relationship with Grosvenor?
I think I just have to see if I'm not muted, right? Yeah. With the I've been very fortunate that through Samira that I know Grosvenor. But again, of course, I mean, she was the one who introduced me to Grosvenor, but I felt that connection personally in that regard, because you need to give artists a certain freedom to work with, and whatever ideas I have presented to Grosvenor, I mean, if I want to do paintings, if I want to do sculptures, or any idea, that's been well supported by them, and they have never sort of there are a lot of galleries who sort of try to navigate the artist. Maybe you should go towards that side or that side, but Grosvenor has never been like that. I've always been very supportive of the ideas that I present, and now how I evolve into those ideas. I've expanded from really small works, and I've done some very experimental drawings and experimental sculptures with Grosvenor as well. And I think this is one thing that an artist, especially who is wherever I am, it's because of the supporting factors of the galleries that I got really good two galleries, Canvas in Pakistan and Grosvenor in London. They have really supported me, and again supported in terms of giving me exposure as well. Like I've not only because of them I've shown in the UK, but then they have also exported me to other parts of the world as well. Like shown me at Abu Dhabi, where I traveled, and where I see my work in the dialogue of so many other galleries. And then of course, when your work is there, you're not only silently looking, but you're also learning. And then how I was taken to Art Dubai as well. So these all exposures that a gallery provides the artist, they add to the artist's experience, and then the artist, it's easier for the artist to navigate her, or my own career in that regard. So, and even this show, it's very polite for a gallery to call the artist over there, and I was looking at fees at the same time, and I was having my gallery opening at the same time. So a lot of things were I was looking at a lot of things simultaneously, and it was, again, I would call that it was a learning experience for me in that regard. But this is one thing that a lot of young artists should look when you're working with a gallery, that your ideas should connect. The gallery should exactly understand you, and you should exactly understand the gallery, and you should be in one equilibrium in a way, that you should trust each other. And I'm very lucky to have this gallery that I have. I completely trust on them, and I think that's the only reason that the relationship is going forward.
And I think part of that is this is quite a boring thing to say, but it's discussing everything up front and having a written, I don't know if this is relevant, but having all this stuff written down in black and white, so everyone knows from the off what's going to happen. Who's paying for what, who pays for works to go back to to Pakistan if they're going there. What is the plan? The whole thing kind of needs to be mapped out, and so there are no nasty surprises, because we've worked with an artist recently, and there was a show in the UK, but then she was now no longer based here, and the works were kind of stuck in limbo. So that was something that was not discussed with the gallery at the time, and so we were able to help out, but it was that the person was put in a difficult situation. However, by having all these things sorted out up front and being honest and open and having those difficult conversations, you save a lot of headache further down the line. And I think that's how things have worked well between Wardha and the gallery, and also in terms of we know what Wardha's providing for the show well in advance. The photography is always excellent. The quality of the framing is always good, and then that takes the doubt out of our mind, and we can just get on with doing our job, knowing that the works that will come are of a extremely high quality. And Wardha was saying it's important to travel. I second that. If possible. For example, Wardha being here during Freeze last week made a huge difference. It made all the difference, and not just the people that visited the gallery, but also the opportunities you get during an event like that to meet people who won't be in London again for a year or another 2 years. These chance events and meetings can lead on to much bigger things quite quickly. So it's, you've got to put yourself out there and meet people, because that's how things happen, and that's how opportunities arise.
On that point, of course, you and Wardha started working together because of the collaborative partnership with Canvas. What is your base for both of your advice for younger artists who want to, aspire to have these exhibitions internationally and create the space that Wardha has created for herself? For both of you, what would the advice you'd give them be?
Wardha, you can go first if you like.
Yeah, I think I have been asked this question a lot. Especially this year when there was, the Art Dubai was such a big success, and, followed by this gallery. So a lot of, in fact, a girl, Javeria, just asked me today as well, okay, is there a formula? And I was just telling her, there's absolutely no formula. There's absolutely no formula. The only formula is to stick to your gut. And my advice would be to, make a Pakistani presence first. If you are an artist based in UK, you should look at your, what is your showing, what is your stance in your own country. And if you're in Pakistan, so you should be well aware, you should be, your name should be known. You should make a base among the Pakistani galleries first. And when when you do some shows over there, so automatically people start to notice you. And also because of social media, I think social media has helped me so much, and it's helping other artists so much. And this was not there. It was not like this 11 or 13 years ago when I was graduated. But right now there are a lot of focus on the social media, and you can just spread your work like that. So I think they have much more opportunities that they need to focus on. Just stick to your hardworking your thing. You really need to hard work and evolve your work continuously. Have a dialogue with it, and eventually it will happen.
I second that. Definitely. I think if you're living in Lahore, or then you need to have a good collector base locally to be able to support and justify having a show overseas, and the inevitable costs that are involved in that. because, you know, when you look at the sums at the end of an exhibition, the costs are, you know, there's a lot of costs that rack up, you know, doing any exhibition, even, you know, artists based in the UK, they get expensive quickly. So, you know, bringing works from overseas, a gallery who's doing that, they need to know that there is a group of people out there that are supportive of the artist and that actively want to buy that work. So, you know, it's not about just jumping in and having a show overseas, and that won't really make any difference. You know, really the best thing for young artists is you know, to have a show, to sell everything in that show, have a, you know, little list of interested people who didn't miss out the first time, you know, plan the next one for 18 months, 2 years down the line, you know, and just evolve it slowly, you know, try and be part of as many projects try and be part of projects as well, but, you know, really make sure that, you know, there shouldn't be, we're fortunate in the instance of Wardha's show that there's nothing left, you know, everything's sold. So, you know, the reality is we now have a very keen group of people who didn't get to buy from this show. And so the next exhibition that happens, that, you know, the number of people will only grow over time, the more people see her work. So from that point of view, it's a great position to be in, but it's all about, you know, having that strong body of collectors that buy your work locally. And then, you know, and then if you're working with a gallery, then that's when collaborations come about, you know, regardless of what gallery it is, you know, there can be joint group exhibitions that can be arranged, and then your work can be included in that. But yeah, Wardha's right. There's an awful lot of work. You've got to work really hard. But yeah, that's the way to go about it.
Yeah, I mean, I was talking to Noor, who is running based up with me, but we were saying how hard Wardha, you work very, very hard, and I'm very annoyed of how hard you work, and it clearly really pays off. I wanted to take a moment to maybe talk through the show, which just closed and just sold out. So I'm going to share the images on the screen, and maybe both you, Charles, and Wardha can talk about how integral Wardha was in planning and curating the show, and how crucial the exhibition design and creating pathways for visitors is, and also just devising the show together. It'd be really interesting for you both to have a kind of little moment to talk through that. So I'm going to share the installation on the screen. I don't know if you can see it. It is this one. Yes. So whoever wants to go first.
Right, you go for it.
Okay. So with this show, I think Charles will second me that I try to plan a lot of things in advance. So what I've started to do now, which whoever is listening would help them a lot, that, you know, I ask the gallery for their plan and then make a small model of that gallery. And I make that small model, I have an idea of space, because if I cannot travel there physically, then, you know, I'm looking at this model, and then I do these drawings, and I curate the whole gallery for me. And at times when I decide, maybe I should place this piece over here or there. So when I made this model, I actually made a piece in this show, which is right in the corner. It is all tilted. It's actually designed just for the niche, which the gallery has. It's an orange piece that you can see in the middle over here. So, you know, for me, I every groove in the wall, every space matters, because it's about interactivity of space along with the visuals that you're putting on the wall. But also it's about, because the works are so small, so I have to curate light in that space. I have to say what would be the central focus of the exhibition, and you know, what things that I need to balance. But I cannot take the crown to myself, because, you know, Grosvenor has always helped me in curating the space. I mean, it's Charlie and all the team is so helpful. Then even, you know, they if I give them a wild idea, they would definitely go and support it. And then you would say, and then they would, you know, add, no, maybe this will work or this will not work. So I think it's a mutual thing. But another important thing in this show that I have actually did was that, you know, I do a lot of drawings, and I think that's an essential part of my practice, that I draw a lot. And that's how new compositions and new ideas keep on evolving. And I'm never short of ideas because I draw a lot in my journal. So the first two pieces which was put in the show were the two drawings, that I wanted the viewer to see, and then, go further into the painting. And then there was just one glimpse where I drew on the wall, and the whole drawing from the painting was just coming out on the wall. I actually did a small mini installation, a drawing onto that piece. So I think whenever you look at the painting, there will be something new. There will be something new for the viewer to find out. And this is how the whole space is curated in that regard. And of course, the gallery then helps you because they know the space so well. So it's not about, they're giving a suggestion and you just cannot ignore it because they know the space really well than you. I mean, they're physically standing. So I was always asking them, this is my idea, but, you guys take the final decision because you're standing right there. So it was very well supported in that regard. On to you, Charlie.
Well, the thing you mentioned about the little model of the gallery, when you sent me that photo, I don't think anyone has ever done that before, but it's great. It was really good. It was very helpful, and just having a bit of guidance from you as to how you'd like the show laid out. And we talked about it, and we were on the phone when we were hanging the show and all this sort of thing. But ultimately, the artist is the one that has to be happy at the end of the day. We can give our opinions and say, this might look better here, or something along those lines. But ultimately, we're at the bidding of the artist we're showing, essentially. And this exhibition opened about 10 days before Wardha was able to make it over. So she put a lot of trust in our hands to make it look good. But to be honest, when the quality is as good as the works in that show, it's not hard to make it look good. And also, Wardha also thinks very carefully about the viewer's experience. What someone sees first. I know she does a lot of video work, and she did some sculptures for our first show. And it's good to sort of challenge people and, not just present them with what they expect to see, a line of paintings on the wall. So, that orange one you see on the left, that's quite low down on that wall. And so people have to bend down to look at it. And the two drawings were presented on angled plinths, like you were reading a sort of mobile manuscript. And just doing things like this where you do challenge, you challenge the viewer with the environment that the works are shown in, it makes a difference, and it engages people on a slightly different level. But it's a collaborative process putting this sort of thing together. But ultimately, as long as Wardha's happy, then we're happy, basically.
And also, apart from the display, obviously when Nora and I visited your studio, we talked about the title and what is the meaning behind the "What Do You Seek?" and what are the stories behind these. I mean, they're absolutely gorgeous, but I know that they also have a deeper meaning with the ideas of mapping and the ideas of like enclosures and the force of women. What do these mean to you, Wardha?
I mean, actually, the "What Do You Seek" was kept the title. Noor and Mala were in my studio, and I was just right there. I was just thinking, I just shared two titles with them, and they're like, "Oh my God, is this not the title of your show? I mean, this is just lovely." And I was like, "Yeah, maybe not." So the "What Do You Seek" is actually, a lot of people have actually pointed at it about, is it about the climate change or is it about global warming? But it's actually not about that. It's actually the "What Do You Seek?" There's a new symbol in my work that I have presented in the drawings as well, that is titled as Black Fire or Kali Aag. And even in the main painting that you see, the yellow big painting, it has an entity which is floating like an eye. And this entity is also in my other painting as well, in which a water body is there in the middle of a composition right here in the grass. So this water body for me is actually a female entity. It's actually a symbolism of a female body. It's actually a symbolism of fertility in that regard. And because, I am producing these works as a woman, as a female survivalist artist of Pakistan. So I am, I nourish, as a mother, as a female, I nourish the whole world. I'm a provider. I give birth. I'm, I was recently said this in my video as well, that at times when I look at females, they are like walking, talking goddesses in front of me. So the water you seek is actually entitled to a state of mind which is balanced in that way. And we all strive to achieve that nirvana somewhere, even if you're a woman, even if you're a man, you survive to achieve that balance in your life. So this title actually takes you over there, the water you seek, the balance you seek in your life, what the hope that you want to come in your work. But also the water you seek is taken from the sayings of Rumi. There's one poem, and I read Rumi a lot when I'm especially looking for titles and everything. So it actually came from one of those translated scripts of Rumi. And then I just, jumbled a few words, and then voila, this just came up. But for me, I think it's very, very important to give title of the painting. And this is one message that I would like to give to everyone right now, that I don't know that if you are spending so much time with producing your work, that I don't understand why it has, why it's kept untitled. For me, the title is so important, and for me, the title acts as a negotiator between the viewer and an artist, because an artist is not there everywhere to make you understand your work. Of course, it makes a huge difference when an artist make you understand, what the symbolism is about. But if the artist is not there, and is there some text, or if there's just the title, so that becomes a negotiator, and that plays a beautiful and a very, very strong part. So I really encourage all the young artists to please keep titles, so you will have a strong dialogue with your work, because then you will also read your titles as second person, when you kept them, when they're in a gallery space, and even you visit your own show. So it really helps to evolve your understanding.
Amazing. Thank you. I don't know if Charles, do you have any more thoughts you want to say about the show, or I can move on to discussing Wardha's practice in general?
Well, I think this show in particular has been very and eagerly anticipated. Wardha mentioned she had an exhibition with Canvas in Dubai this March, and it had a huge amount of publicity off the back of it. And that they sold all the works there, and so there was a sort of this show was eagerly anticipated, and I think the gratifying thing for us that's come from this exhibition is that several museums have acquired work by Wardha from the show, which is fantastic. It's great for her, and sort of shows how her career is evolving, and how she's being considered as considered for these collections. So from our point of view, we were very pleased with that outcome, and but really, when the quality of the work when it came through, there was never sort of any doubt that the works wouldn't be extremely popular. But from that point of view, we were very pleased. So yeah, very happy with the show. Absolutely, yeah. Just on to planning the next next few projects now, which is for Wardha, really it's important to widen her circle, and perhaps look at doing shows further afield than just the UK, something in Europe, something in the States, that sort of thing. It's just it's all about now planning that out and getting things in the diary, because it fills up quickly, and all other diaries, 2023 is kind of booked everywhere. So it's looking at what comes next for Wardha and trying to help where we can, essentially.
That's very exciting, and again, huge congratulations on that front with the museum acquisition. We have a few minutes left. I think it'd be interesting, because I know this talk is more mainly about professional concern, but to talk through Wardha, and obviously Charles chime in as well, your practice as a contemporary visual artist, transforming the traditional field of miniature painting, and what elements of experimentation you do bring into the field. And what I'll do is I'll just open up your portfolio, and if there's anything you want me to show, just tell me, and
I think we can just quickly skim through it, because I don't plan to take more of your time. Yeah. I think I would just start from the first slide. That's fine.
There we
And
go.
we can just quickly, you can just
Yeah.
skim through. So the first thing that I really look into the definition of miniature painting, and I really don't think so that I produce miniatures anymore. I mean, I have learned that as a discipline in art, and I have been trained as a miniature painter when I was a student at NCA. But you know how my work has evolved, it just changed when I went to an exchange program in Paris, and I was looking into how visuals can evolve onto the paper. And still, you know, if I have the funding or the amount right now, or if I have these these unlimited exposures of different software, I would have been a temperature artist. I would have not been making these visuals onto the piece of paper. I'm making these paper visuals because I am confined. I have so many limitations, but I want to break these limitations, and I keep the paper to be evolving. Like, you know, how I'm putting my paintings, but I'm putting them into a matching frame. This is how I'm looking at the space, and this is how I'm creating that dialogue along the space. Then even in the work, I'm trying to extend, you know, the drawings on the wall and make them into one work instead of, you know, putting so many works. So if you ask me that, you know, if I have done the water you see is actually one work for me at Grosvenor Gallery. It's not like 2 or 3 different works. And even in this work, the Jameel artwork, I mean, I have limitations that I could not use the space. So when I go into the space and then I see and I realize, you know, this is one way, this is my limitation, but it doesn't give me a boundary. So from this medium, I can go over there, and from this medium, I can evolve and then expand it into the whole space and make it into an experience, which is a very, very, very important part of my artistic journey. That I want to create optical experiences or any experiences for the viewer. Even in my residency at Flag, Belgium, where I had to weave a 300 meters installation. There was a temperature shift happening inside the globe, and, you know, even outside of it, and you would just go inside, and there was a floor video projection of 7,000 lumens, which was the highest possible luminosity in 2011 at that time. So, you know, if I'm given the funding, or given the means where I can, you know, collaborate with a lot of artists, so I produce a lot of other things as well. So it's not about. I think it would be like confining my work into its limits. If it's called a miniature, I would rather call myself a visual artist, and that's why I'm very keen on producing even video works now as well. And you know, that I have been producing, and I'm like this. This was almost a time lapse going on, and this video has been the grass video. It's called The River, and has been recently displayed in a museum in Italy as well. So, you know, and these sort of videos, they keep on challenging my static work, and they have a very, very strong dialogue. They take my paintings further. I mean, I could have not made the What Do You Seek, you know, the painting that I was talking about, which had a female entity in it, if I would have not made this video. I mean, for me, if I have to take one strong work in this year, then it would be this video, because a lot of other work is coming out of this video. And then I'm looking at the space, I'm looking at the sound, I'm looking at interactivity in so many different levels that it's for me. I would also advise to other people as well that you need to challenge yourself, and you need to come out of a comfort circle, so that you need to evolve. It's okay. Failed projects are perfectly fine. Failed projects are as important or more important than your successful project, because they teach you so many things. So yeah, so I keep on jumping here and there, and wherever I have a chance, you know, I want to bring interactivity in my work, and this is how the works keep on evolving. But then limitations are not my weak point. I'm trying to make my limitations into a stronger point, and then I want to jump that barrier, and, you know, you come across that point. So I think I would just sum up the practice into like this.
Thank you. That's amazing. And I know you're working on trying to make a huge installation, aren't you, out of glass? So that's a very exciting thing. So I guess we can hopefully open up, unless Charles, you have any more points you want to make about what Grosvenor or Wardha's practice? All good. If anyone has any questions, please put them in the chat and I will speak to them. Hopefully there are some questions.
it's interesting what Wardha says about, you know, the different elements of her work sort of inspiring other parts. You know, the video has created these other paintings that have come from it. But yeah, it's the thing is with, I think with her work, it's done to a very high standard. So there's, you know, you want to avoid doing something for the sake of it. It all has to sort of speak to each other, and for there to be a, you know, a narrative line between it, and for it to sort of make sense. But yeah, you know, failed projects are, you're right as well, you know, are just as important as the successes to getting to a final destination. And you know, Wardha's very kind when she says that we've sort of just green flagged everything that she's asked for. But we're fortunate that she hasn't asked for anything too crazy when it comes to her exhibitions. You know, it's just, you know, a few sculptures and, you know, painting a few walls and all this sort of thing. We've got off quite lightly, I think. So we're yeah. Maybe I shouldn't have said that. Maybe next time we're in for it, and we're gonna have to do back flips for the show. But well, we'll see. We'll see.
Don't know if we're gonna have any questions. Oh, we have one. Okay, I will read this to. This is from Virginia Wild. Women artists in Pakistan have often treated political themes such as patriarchy, feminism, state violence. Your work seems to be mainly formalist, but is this intentional?
I think at first, when I was in the beginning of you know, making these visuals, I was not. I wasn't sure, but right now, how with time, yes, I think it has become a little. I do it on purpose as well. Yeah, and why not? If I'm living in Pakistan, if I'm facing all these things, and I'm having this dialogue with the politics and with the social factors every day, I'm living the nightmares over here. I'm living the dreams over here. I'm living everything. So when I encounter these things, it's impossible for me to run away from these things, and they do influence my work, and I'm very direct about them in the works as well. If you look closer to it, yes.
Thank you. I don't know if we're going to have any others. If there are not any other questions, I will leave everyone to have a lovely afternoon in sunny London, or evening in wherever you are in the world. And thank you so much to Charles and Wardha for giving us so much time, and I know that it's amazing insight that you both have imparted, and I hope will be really helpful for artists and professionals in the field. And yeah, thank you again, and please join us for our next talk in November, which we will be sharing shortly on our social media.
Thank you so much. Bye bye. Thank you so
Thanks
much.
a lot.
It's great. Lovely.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Mala.
Bye.
Bye.